Kelsey. This is my channel, The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I'm wearing one of my fancy booktube hats, and today I'm bringing you my book haul for the months of October and November. I've got 11 books here. 5 of them are used, 5 of them are new, and 1 is an ARC. 4 of these are October or November releases, which is a lot of new releases for me to be buying, but it was a good couple of new release months. So I'm going to start off with the used books, and I'm going to start off with the 2 that are books that I have already read but I did not own copies of, so now I own copies of that I can wave in front of the camera and loan to people and have on my shelves and reread someday. I got these both used in very good condition. The first is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. I've read the entire Broken Earth trilogy, but the only one I owned so far was The Stone Sky, so now I have the second book, The Obelisk Gate, as well. I'm still looking for a copy of the 5th season. And then the second one is The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge. This is a YA-ish historical mystery with a fantasy twist, and I end up recommending this a good deal on my channel. Next, I have 2 impulse purchasey used $1 books. These are both hardcovers in good condition. The first is Well of Shades by Juliet Marillier. This is the 3rd book in the Bride Chronicles, which is a series of hers that I haven't read yet, but I own the first 2 books, and this is the matching edition to the hardcovers of books 1 and 2 that I have. Juliet Marillier is a really reliable author for me. She does historical fantasy, mostly Celtic, and I'm pretty sure that's what this series is too. Next, I have a sci-fi book, and that is Barsk, the Elephant's Graveyard by Lawrence M. Schoen. This looks like a very strange sort of book, but in a way that intrigues me a lot, and I've seen a lot of people who were pleasantly surprised by this book. This was a 2015 release, and it is about a far future in which the characters are elephantine people. I think this story also revolves around some sort of mystical communication with the dead, so there might be a sort of fantasy twist involved too. Anyways, I noticed that there is a sequel to this book coming out next year in 2018. So this might be one that I read sooner rather than later to see if that sequel is going to be a book I'm going to be interested in. The last used book I bought over the Thanksgiving holiday when I was in the DC area with some friends. We went to a used bookstore. I had to buy a book because that's how touristing works, right? You go to a bookstore in the city and you buy a book. So this is a collection of short stories by E.T.A. Hoffmann. This one is just called Tales of Hoffmann. That's the same title as the opera. I don't know if it's the same stories that the opera uses or not, though. But this is the second cheap used collection of Hoffmann's short stories that I've acquired this year after reading Hoffmann's original Nutcracker, which is a novella-length story at the end of last year, and being really intrigued by how strange and wonderful it was. I haven't really known where to go with his stories after that, though, so I have these 2 collections. The other one is called something like The Golden Pot and Other Tales, and these 2 collections don't have any of the same stories in them except for, like, The Sandman, which is his most famous story aside from Nutcracker. On to the new books. This gets very exciting. I have 1 book that is not a new release, or not a very new release. It's still a 2017 release, but it's not an October or November 2017 release, and that is Brothers Ruin by Emma Newman. This is one of the Tor.com novellas. It's the first in a series. I bought this from Book Outlet because I placed an order during their Booktoberfest sale in October, but that was all books that I'm going to be giving to people as gifts for Christmas, and I let myself throw in 1 book just for me as a treat, and that's this. This is a Gaslamp fantasy series about a young woman who has magical powers, who I think makes it seem like her magical powers are actually her brother's magical powers. I've heard that this very much is just a setting up the story volume of the series, so I figured this was a series where I could wait a little while after the release of the first book to pick it up and read it. there is at this point a second book already out. And Emma Newman has written both fantasy and science fiction series that I've seen around BookTube a lot, but I've never read any of her books, and of her series, this is the one I'm actually most interested in. On to the new releases. The first isn't actually a surprise. I have shown it on my channel before, and that is The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 3 by Nagabe. This is the third in a manga series that I enjoy because it has lovely atmospheric art and it has a sort of dark fairy tale feel. This third volume came out on Halloween. I did show it to you in my Getting Graphic TBR last month because I showed just like everything I had that was a graphic novel that I could have possibly gotten to. This wasn't one of the ones I ended up reading, though. I still have to read this book. Next, I have two absolutely gorgeous books that I pre-ordered, and I cannot wait to get into them. The first is Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. She writes absolutely gorgeous young adult magical realism. I loved When the Moon Was Ours, which was her previous novel. I haven't yet read The Weight of Feathers, which was her debut, but I do own it. And then the second is The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night. This is Jen Campbell's short story collection. They're supposed to all be very fairy tale-ish and strange, and this is just a gorgeous book. This is like one of the really rare instances where I'll actually pre-order an international edition of something because this isn't out in the US yet, so I pre-ordered it from Book Depository. Hopefully I will be reading both of these in January. Look how pretty they are together. They're both very pretty. Next, I have another YA release that I was planning on reading, but I wasn't necessarily planning on purchasing, and then I impulse bought it. And that is Jane Unlimited by Kristin Cashore. The reviews that I've seen of this have been that it is amazing. Of course, it was a book that was on my radar because I did read her Graceling trilogy. This is supposed to be very, very different, though. I'm very interested to see what it is. Most of the reviews say that it's a book that you don't want to know too much about before going into it. I ended up purchasing this because Strand sometimes has some less high-profile new releases for like half price around their release date, just like 1 or 2 copies. This is something I've noticed, not necessarily something I've taken advantage of before very often, but this one was half list price, so I bought it from Strand. And I told you I had one ARC, and that's the last book in this haul. This is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I won this in a Goodreads giveaway. It came with a little bookmark, so I can read it with a matching bookmark. Whoops. Anyhow, this is a January 2018 release, so it comes out next month. January 30th, so end of January. This is a young adult debut novel, and I believe it's a contemporary fantasy with fairy tale-ish things and family secrets and stuff. I'll admit I'm sometimes a little wary when it comes to young adult fantasy debuts. Sometimes they end up being amazing, and sometimes they fall flat, and it's really hard to tell when all you're seeing is the advanced promotional stuff what camp it's going to fall in. So I'm gonna read this and we'll see. Anyhow, these were the books that I got in October and November. Let me know if you're also planning on reading any of these. Let me know if you bought any particularly exciting books in October or November, if you pre-ordered any new releases. Anyhow, I hope you're having a nice day. That is all. Bye for now.